Nora,
Regular
425.
spelling?
Yeah.
Yep. What'd you say? Did you hear?
So as soon as I came down, two interceptors flew by me, and as soon as they pulled up right here past the motel, instantly shots were fired. Heard about 5 shots. I maneuvered my car into one of the parking lot. I saw 2 police officers run around their car and sliding on the ground, trying to get cover. And yeah, after that, when I exited my vehicle and I looked out, there was one man on the floor. And after that, they waited. SWAT came, went into the guy, kicked the gun away from him, and that's pretty much about what happened. He was deceased as soon as they exchanged fire.
So you just saw one guy?
One guy, and then after they got him and secured him, SWAT entered that side building. I'm not sure exactly what it is, if it's another motel or not. They entered in there and then pulled out one female and then 2 males after her. About 10 minutes after the first female they pulled out and handcuffed her, threw her in a cruiser, and then they pulled 2 males out and walked them this way. And to my knowledge, there's 2 officers that have been injured in this incident.
Right. They were transported. Were they transported pretty quickly?
Yeah, they flew by us because we were at Santa Anita, still coming in down here, and boom, instantly flew by us. Already heard a bunch of gunshots, and I'm not sure if he was just shooting to shoot, but after they showed up, I'm sure he was shooting at them after. And yeah, they exchanged fire. Cars were trying to swerve out of the way. I swerved this way and then managed to get into the parking lot. And as soon as I peeked out, the guy was already on the ground.
Did you notice if it was El Monte PD that were the officers?
Yeah, El Monte PD responded first, and then who followed after them was the sheriff, and then Baldwin Park PD is here, Arcadia, and CHP.
But I mean, the officers that got hit.
The officers that got hit, I believe they were El Monte because they were the first on the scene. Yeah.
How many shots did you hear?
In total, after the first initial 5, I heard about, I want to say more than 10 after that. There was a lot of exchange. Even at this light, there was a lot of shooting before I came up here. And as soon as I got up here, that's when I saw all the officers trying to run around their cars and get cover. And it was just a whole lot of gunfire.
It was definitely a gun battle between this guy and the cars.
Yeah, which, again, I don't know what the situation was, but from what I saw afterwards, when he was on the ground, all he had was one pistol. I don't know how far he's going to get, and I know that thing only has, about 10 rounds in it, so I don't know what he was trying to achieve here, but after that, they swept that area, pulled out, like I said, the female and then 2 other males after that.
Were you able to tell the condition of the officers before they were transported?
No.
Were they up talking? Were they down and out?
Unfortunately, I didn't see that because after they got there and the gunfire exchanged, all these other officers sweeped in really quick and blocked off everything.
Gotcha.
And I've been waiting right here. I never saw them transport this way, so I'm sure they transported them that way.
So your car's stuck in?
Yeah, I have to wait here until this is all cleared out.
Thanks, man.
Yeah,
What's your first name? How do you spell it one more time?
Arthur, Arthur.
Yes.
Good evening. My name is Lorena Rodriguez. I'm captain at Sheriff's Information Bureau. Today, Sheriff Alex Villanueva and El Monte Interim Chief Ben Lowry, along with Homicide Captain Andrew Meyer, will provide preliminary information on the 2 officers who were tragically murdered today. Along with us today are El Monte Mayor Jessica Ancona, Councilwoman Victoria Martinez Muela, Councilmember Martin Herrera, Councilmember Dr. Maria Morales, and Field Deputy Antonio Chapa, representing Hilda Solis's office. I now present you Homicide Captain Andrew Meyer.
Andrew Meyer, I'm currently captain of LASD Homicide Bureau and DREW-MEYER. Tonight I'm here to provide you with an update on the officer-involved shooting that occurred in the city of El Monte. Officers responded to a call for service at a local motel in the city of El Monte. The call was regarding a possible stabbing victim at the location. Officers arrived on scene where they confronted the suspect and an officer-involved shooting occurred. The suspect fled the hotel room into the parking lot, and a second officer-involved shooting occurred. 2 officers from El Monte Police Department and the suspect were struck by gunfire. The 2 officers were transported to County USC Medical Center, where they passed away earlier this evening. The suspect was also struck by gunfire, and he was pronounced deceased at the scene. This investigation is very preliminary at this point, and we're working together with our law enforcement partners, El Monte Police, very closely with El Monte Police Department, and we're working together and making sure that we conduct a thorough investigation. That's all I have at this time. I'm going to turn it back over to the captain of Sheriff's Information Bureau.
Thank you, sir. I would like to present now El Monte Police Interim Chief Ben Lowry.
The men and women of El Monte Police Department, as well as the community of El Monte, is grieving. I've heard that the only way to take the sting out of death is to take the love out of life. And believe me, they were loved. These 2 men were loved. They were good men. They paid the ultimate sacrifice, serving their community, trying to help somebody. They do what hundreds and thousands of men and women do every day across the United States, get up with an oath to protect people and to serve them. And these 2 heroes paid the ultimate sacrifice. Today they were murdered by a coward. And we are grieving, and it hurts. And we really want to express our appreciation to the surrounding cities and agencies who have been here to support us. Very grateful for that. Please keep these officers' families in your prayers.
Thank you, sir. On behalf of the City of El Monte, Mayor Jessica Ancona.
Good evening. Heartbroken doesn't begin to express the loss that we feel with the news that 2 of our Monte police officers were shot today in the line of duty. As our officers do on a daily basis, they were acting as the first line of defense for our community members when they were essentially ambushed while trying to keep a family safe. These 2 officers were like family in our community with deep ties to our neighborhoods. One of our officers was raised in El Monte, went through our schools, and was excited to be a part of the El Monte Police Department, where he would be able to serve and protect family and friends. The other fallen officer was a new officer, patrolling our streets, excited to be on the force, ensuring that the community members he had met along the way were protected. These men were dedicated to their careers, and even more so as sons, husbands, and fathers. Please keep their families in your prayers. While we always stand behind our officers, today we mourn together and speak with a raised voice in appreciation, respect, and love for our law enforcement brothers and sisters. Today, we stand in solidarity with them, embrace them and their families, and pray that the wives, children, and families of our 2 officers who were taken too soon can eventually find peace. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Next, Field Deputy Antonio Chapa, representing Hilda Solis's office.
Thank you, Captain. Good evening. My name is Antonio Chapa from the Office of LA County Supervisor Hilda Al Solis, and I will read a statement from her. I am heartbroken to learn that both officers involved in today's tragic incident have unfortunately succumbed to their injuries. On behalf of the 1st District, I extend my deepest condolences and regret to their families, loved ones, and fellow officers. My office and I have been in constant contact with the City of El Monte and the LAC, USC medical staff, and we are prepared to support and provide resources to their families. The sacrifice of these public servants to keep our community safe will never be forgotten. May these 2 heroes rest in peace. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We will now open it up for questions.
What do we know about how it escalated to the point of somebody pulling the first trigger?
I'm sorry, ma'am, what was the question again?
What do we know about how it escalated until somebody pulling the first trigger, whether it was an officer or the suspect?
It's extremely early in the investigation, so we don't have all the facts yet. But currently there are homicide investigators. We have at least 20 investigators out at the scene, interviewing witnesses, looking for any kind of surveillance video, canvassing the scene. So
I understand that it was a stabbing call first, is that right?
that's correct.
Was the suspect armed with a gun when the officers arrived?
We believe that there was a gun recovered at the scene near the suspect.
So was the first off, I'm so sorry for your loss.
I'm sorry, sir, what was that?
I said, first off, I'm very sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
My question is, when the officers first arrived on the scene, were the first shots fired in the hotel room, and then one officer went down there, and then the other officer pursued in the parking lot area? Is that right?
Sir, I'm not going to speculate on exactly what happened or what occurred, but we believe that it started in the hotel room,
Okay.
and an additional shooting occurred outside the parking lot.
How many arrests were made in connection with this incident?
I'm sorry, say it again?
How many arrests have been made so far in connection with the incident?
Oh, how many arrests have been made? None that I'm aware of.
There was some, I think we had someone on scene who saw some people detained at the scene. Was that not in connection, or are you just not aware of that being connected?
I'm not aware of anybody being physically detained, but there may have been witnesses at the scene that investigators or the witnesses were waiting to speak to the investigators, or it could have been the female that was there.
Sir, what's the status of the stabbing victim?
It's my understanding she was not stabbed, but investigators are currently interviewing her.
So was Was this a family situation where the male was the suspect? The mayor mentioned that one of the officers was protecting the family. Was this a family situation where the male became the suspect?
It's too early in the investigation to speculate or talk about that. The female we believe, was the suspect's girlfriend.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the officers, how long they served on the force? I know obviously.
I'm sorry, sir, can you speak up a little bit?
Yeah, can you tell us more about the officers on the force? I understand one of them, obviously from the mayor, was someone who grew up in El Monte, and the other was new. Can you tell us more about how old they were and how long they served?
Yes, sir.
One of the officers was a veteran police officer, at least 22 years on the job, and the other officer was newer, less than a year on the job.
How old were they?
I don't have that information right now. We're going to hold off on information about that because family members have still not notified. Yet.
Question for the captain. There were reports.
I'm sorry, ma'am, what was that?
Were they the first two officers to arrive on the scene? The two that were shot and killed? And were they the first two to arrive on the scene, or were there other officers there during the shootout?
I don't have that information. I'm not exactly sure how many officers were there at the time of the shootout, so it's just too early to talk about that.
And my other question is, we heard that other officers put them in patrol cars and drove them to the hospital. They didn't wait for an ambulance. Is that correct?
I'm not going to speculate on that. I wasn't given that information, so that may be the case or it may not be the case. I can't say.
And why is the street blocked off here? Does that have anything to do with this case?
Not that I'm aware of.
Sir, I'm sorry, can you clarify, was the veteran police officer the officer who grew up in El Monte, and the newer officer was not originally part of that community? Is that correct?
I don't know if the chief wants to speak to that. We're not obviously giving out the officers' names or anything at this point.
Yeah, both officers had family ties in El Monte.
Just to clarify the timeline, so there was a shooting inside the motel, and then the suspect made his way outside and then got into a shootout with other officers. Is that the preliminary, I guess you would say, sequence of events?
I'm sorry, we'll take this last question. We're going to have a follow-up. We'll have some more information tomorrow, but if I could take this last question, go ahead again, sir.
Yes, I'm just wondering, just to clarify the sequence of events, you're saying that there was a shooting inside the motel, there was some sort of exchange of gunfire, then the suspect made his way outside, and there was another exchange of gunfire between him and other officers, and that's where the suspect was killed?
Yes, we believe so. Was there a question? That's basically what I said earlier, is that when the officers contacted the suspect in the hotel room, or the motel room, an officer-involved shooting occurred. At that point, the suspect fled the hotel room, and a second officer-involved shooting occurred in the parking lot of the location.
Which one were the officers hit inside the motel room, or were they hit by bullets out in the second shooting? Were they hit through?
I don't know that information, and it's too early in the investigation to tell. I left the scene. I left before I could even do a walkthrough of the scene with the handling investigators. So I will. That will be the last question, and we will put out more information tomorrow. Thank you.
We will now have it in Spanish. Thank you. I now present Sheriff Alex Villanueva.
Esta tarde ocurrió una tragedia en la ciudad del Monte y ofrecemos nuestras condolencias por el Departamento de Alguacil de Los Ángeles a la familia de los dos oficiales que fallecieron en un tiroteo en el área aproximada de un hotel ubicado en la ciudad del Monte. Hubo una llamada de emergencia de una persona supuestamente asaltada y los dos oficiales iniciados dieron al lugar y hubo un intercambio de balas. En ese intercambio de balas fue seguido por otro intercambio de balas en el área del estacionamiento, un poco alejado del cuarto del hotel. Y a raíz de esta balacera murieron dos oficiales del Departamento de Policía del Monte y falleció el sospechoso también. Los dos oficiales fueron transportados aquí a este hospital donde perdieron su vida a pesar de una batalla fuerte que ofrecieron los médicos aquí del hospital, y el sospechoso fue declarado muerto en el lugar del hotel. Eso es todo lo que tenemos hasta hoy. Va a haber más información después. No podemos ofrecer nombres o descripción porque el departamento de policía no es muy grande y con decir información más específica, entonces ya una persona puede idear quiénes fueron las personas, y no hemos hecho contacto con todos los familiares de los dos oficiales fallecidos, pero ellos trabajaron como héroes, murieron como héroes, y siempre vamos a tener una duda por el esfuerzo que ellos han hecho. ¿Alguna pregunta en español?
Solo clarificar, Sheriff, el hombre que murió, el sospechoso, solamente estaba armado con un cuchillo. Él no tenía, o él también tenía una pistola.
No, había una pistola. Una pistola fue recogida como evidencia en el lugar también.
Gracias.
Ok, muchas gracias.
I thought about it. I did my postcard. My greasy fingers always hit my lens.